All right, so thank you all again for volunteering to do this pit count. We are going to be talking a little bit about the Unsheltered survey and the information that is going to be taken during the survey while you are participating in the point in time count. We could also talk more about the process of what goes on during the overnight count when we have the time towards the end. We do have the smallest room, so I'm just trying to see if I can see all of you. There we go. Is this your first, for the 5 of you here, is this your first time doing the overnight count, or is this something you've all done before?
First
2
time.
new folks, 3 new folks, and 2 people off camera. All right, so it is going to be your first time around. This is actually my 3rd point in time count, so I do have some experience. I'm not going to say I'm a professional, but I mean, we'll see how, we'll see how things go when the night comes itself. So what I will be doing is that I'm going to be sharing my screen to first show you all the survey for the Unsheltered count that you will receive when you go to your location. So once you arrive at your location, I do believe Erin said during the her presentation that will begin at 9 o'clock. So hopefully you are able to get to your location at 9 o'clock, and between 9 and 10, you'll be picking up materials, meeting with your team. All right, thank you, Alexia. Sorry, I was just responding to Alexia. Yeah, you'll be picking up your materials. You'll be able to find your team. You'll be able to talk to each other about what is going on. We lost everybody except for the 2 of you, but that's okay. And then at that point, you'll be able to find the rest of your team and then start your count. So you will be given some locations, known locations around where people have observed homeless individuals for you to see if you can locate those folks to survey them. And if not, you'll be given an area. So it's not that you're just going to one place. You'll be driving around a little bit looking for areas that you may potentially come across people to survey. I can just tell you from experience from the 2020 point in time count that we did not find anybody in our known locations, but the fact that we were driving around was when we ended up finding people in places we didn't expect. So that may be the situation based on where you end up. So once you do start finding people to potentially survey, you will have the survey available. Again, you'll go with a partner at the very least to approach this person. And this is going to be the information that you'll be looking into and hoping to collect. Again, you are not going to try to force someone to complete the entire survey, but you'll be trying to collect as much as you can based on the interaction you have with this person. So at the top of the survey, just very simple information about who is doing the survey and the location where you are when you find this person. So I don't, Judson, I know you said you were further south. Minda, what part of the state are you in? Or are you doing for the survey? Oh, I can't hear you, sorry. Oh, I can't hear you, but it is, yeah, I see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you, I'm sorry. But yes, you'll be able to just put in which county #1 that you are, you've observed this person, and then you'll be able to either say the city of Wilmington or just somewhere, what other town or city did you locate this person, as well as the location. Writing down the location is very helpful because again, we are going to try to make sure that we are not doing duplicate data entry when it comes to the reporting for the pit. So if you're able to tell us where this person is, even if you get their name or not, we're able to compare it to like the next day service centers when we are still continuing in the following day to collect information. So the first thing I want to point out is this informed consent statement that you should read out loud to the person, any person that you approach. Excuse me. So it does say, I'm volunteering to help the Delaware Continuum of Care conduct a survey of those experiencing homelessness to better inform programs and services. Participation in the survey is completely voluntary, and you may choose to skip any question you do not want to answer. This is a confidential survey. Your personal information will not be shared and is collected only for duplication purposes. Your responses will not impact your access to any programs or services. So the person that you are approaching, you do want to get clear consent from them that you are taking their information and it is going to be used for the report. And like this consent statement says, personal information is not submitted outside of the system that we compile these surveys in. So once you get your informed consent, you will then continue on to the survey. Number one is most important question is asking the person where they're sleeping tonight to get an understanding or confirmation that they are unsheltered. So unsheltered, again, is any place not meant for habitation. It could be someone on the street, in the woods, in a car, in an abandoned building, the bus station, around bridges and overpasses, in tents, that kind of situation. So you just want to get confirmation that they are sleeping in one of those places not meant for habitation. If the person does tell you, which is very important, if the person does tell you they are going to go stay with their friends or their family, you can stop the survey right there. We are only surveying folks who are saying they're sleeping in a place not meant for habitation. And for HUD, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, even though people are staying with friends and family and that's not technically their place, they're not considered homeless for this count. So only people sleeping in places not meant for habitation. The next section is going to be starting to pull that demographic information that we are using again for demographic counts and for deduplication purposes. This is big because if the person you are surveying is not open to sharing all of their information, or if you are seeing someone from a distance and you are basically observing them because they're not going to be actually interacting with you, this is the section you would try to fill out based on what you can observe. But those folks that you are actually surveying and collecting information, you do want to get all of this information. So you will be asking for names. Social security number, again, is literally only used for deduplication purposes. So if you cannot get someone to give a social security number or even the last 4 digits of their social security number, it's not the end of the world. However, beyond confirming that the person you are surveying is in a place, sleeping in a place not meant for habitation, their date of birth or their age range is the most important thing for you to collect. If you do not collect the age or an approximation of how old this person is, we have to throw the survey out in the trash. So if you can get the client's date of birth or their age, date of birth is preferred, but age also works. We can do an approximation there. You do have to at least observe the age range of the person that you are either observing or talking to. We just need to know, is this person someone who is young, an adult, or older? So you would have to use one of these 4 age ranges to make that approximation. Again, if that is not collected or if your client refuses to give that information and you do not make a guess, the survey has to go in the trash. Beyond that, also race, ethnicity, and gender, you are able to select all options within those 3 categories. That applies to the person. If you are observing someone from a distance, you can just try to observe to the best of your knowledge. I know that some folks would not like to assume these answers, but again, if you can just put a guess, it's going to be randomized otherwise. So either asking these questions or observing them from a distance, especially if you're not going to actually approach this individual. Then the last question is for, while you're surveying people, have you ever served on active duty, regardless of discharge status in the Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, National Guard, or Coast Guard? So if the person has ever served active duty in the military, you would ask them that question as well, because we do have services we would try and connect them with relating to the VA if they, even after the point in time count. Do either of you have questions about that first section with demographics?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right, so the next section is history of homelessness. So again, these are questions that you're not going to be able to answer unless you are actually approaching this person and actually talking to them. But we do try to capture people's history of homelessness. Is this their first time being homeless? When did your current episode of homelessness begin? This one's a little vague. So they are talking about this current episode of homelessness as far as people sleeping outdoors or in shelters. So another way to ask this question is, when is the last time you got to sleep at a friend's place or in a motel or something like that? They want to know this current episode of homelessness as in sleeping outdoors. So you would be able to ask for a month or year. If the person just tells you it's been 2 years, you can just write that down. We'll do the math from Housing Alliance Delaware side. Number 11, where were you sleeping immediately before you were sleeping here, which is the location you find them at. Again, it's just confirmation of where their prior living situation, if they were continuously sleeping outdoors or a place not meant for habitation, or if they've had another living situation where they stayed with friends or family, or if they were in a rental or their own apartment or that kind of situation.
So
then you do want to also ask, yes, go ahead, Jonathan.
So I'm just looking at the examples. So they seem to be not locational, but what type of sleeping accommodations did you have? In other words, it says abandoned building as opposed to abandoned building at such and such a location.
Yes. Again, just to get more information about their kind of history of where they're currently sleeping outdoors, but prior to that, where were they? Were they still sleeping outdoors, or were they somewhere else in an institution or an actual permanent living situation? Yes. Yep. So 2 different locations as far as their sleeping history or their living situation history. For question 12, in that second location, you're also asking how long they slept there as well. If you can get the number of days, the number of months, number of years, to try and get that as well. And I should mention for these ones, I know sometimes the people you are serving won't have that exact information. You just write down what they provide for you. And again, Housing Alliance Delaware will try and do the math. So don't stress if you can't get an exact answer there. Number 13, including now, how many separate times have you slept in shelters or on the street since January 2019? So we are asking for 3 years worth of their history, how many times they've been homeless, as well as question 14, which is how many months they've been sleeping in shelters or on the streets. And again, just for your knowledge, again, the Department of Housing and Urban Development only counts shelters or streets as being homeless in this situation. So that's why it's that specific. Number 15 does ask, are you currently homeless because you are actively fleeing domestic or dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking? That's a yes or no question. Hopefully, if you are able to jot that down, if you do find out that situation is happening, if you could spend an extra minute to provide like the domestic violence hotline number or something like that. I know that Erin had mentioned during the group training that you wouldn't be providing too many extra services, but I do know depending on who you get teamed up with, Christiana Care, for example, in Newcastle County, they do provide extra services. They are the ones who are open to transporting clients and that kind of thing. But it's not required for you all, just wanted to prepare you for that. History of homelessness section, do either of you have questions here? No? All right, so health and well-being, again, this is just, if you can get these answered, then please continue to do so. Again, a lot of the surveys from my experience, once you start the survey, the person will answer the rest of the survey. So you'll get to continue here. So you are going to be asking the individual if they're living with a disabling condition. There are several options here. So if they are going to give details on which one they had, they will do so. Alcohol use, drug use, physical, developmental, or mental health conditions or disabilities, chronic health conditions, all of that. Number 17, it does ask, are any of the above conditions long-term or indefinite? So again, is this a serious condition that impacts their ability to get housing? That's a yes or no question. And then 18 does ask, do you have any health conditions that increase your risk of severe illness or poor outcomes from COVID-19? So again, another question asking about the severity of whatever health conditions they may bring up to you. Number 19 does ask, do you have access to the COVID-19 vaccine? This is not asking for vaccination status. It's just asking or trying to figure out, does the homeless population actually have that knowledge available or resources available to them about the vaccine, whether they have taken it or not? So that's just a yes or no question. So those are pretty simple. The next section is for youth. So this is a new section for us, but it's new to you too as well. So we are doing extra questions for anyone who is under the age of 14 or 24. If they are under the age of 24, which you are getting from observation, or they do outright tell you the person's age, what it mentions here is that unaccompanied minors with children under 18, no adults staying in the same location, you're allowed to ask them these questions. Youth ages 18 to 24, you can just outright ask these questions. If you are talking to someone who has children with them, or anyone under the age of 18, you do want to ask the parents permission to ask this information. But basically it's asking, are you, for people under the age of 24, are you currently homeless due to being a member of the LGBTQ plus community? Have you ever been in foster care? Have you ever been in a detention center, jail, or prison? Are you currently attending school or another education program? Do you have a high school diploma or GED? And are you currently employed? Obviously, number 24 and 25 will be for that 18 to 24 age group. But again, you can ask these questions for anyone 24 years or under. Do you, and if not, you just skip this section. Do either of you have questions about this section at all? No? Okay. So this one I personally think is the hardest thing to kind of organize while you are doing the unsheltered pit, but you are going to try to capture household information as well. So if you are talking to one person that you encounter and they are a single individual, you are basically done past that youth survey section. However, if you do find out that you are just talking to one person that's actually a part of a bigger family, you are going to want to try and get information about that entire family. So are there children in that household? Is it an adult-only household, meaning maybe they're a part of a couple? A child-only household would be an unaccompanied minor that is out on their own. But you do want to try and get that information based on who in a family or household are staying together for that night at the same location. So you are going to be asking how many adults and how many children, which is based on age, are in the same location as the family. And are you the head of household is basically you designating one person from that family as the head of household, as, you know, that's for data purposes. But once you get to this section, you are going to be asking for the names, dates of birth, relationships, information, how they're related to that head of household, and then if possible, again, for deduplication, social security number. So we are also able to include those other household members in this count. What is important, which I think is mentioned here in this highlighted part, is that you are going to want to do an additional survey for everybody over the age of 18. So everyone over the age of 18 that you do encounter, your goal is to complete a full survey for everyone 18 and older. For anyone as far as children, you are just going to want to, again, collect their name, date of birth or age range, relationship to the head of household, so the person you surveyed initially, and then social security number. So, and again, collecting their names and all of that is when we are doing our data entry side after the night of the pit, we're able to just combine these people together as a family. So do you have any questions about that?
So I'm assuming that if you asked how many other adults, but they don't happen to be standing there, they're off doing something else, you still write down the information they gave you.
That is correct.
About the second
that does
adult.
happen. Yep. You'll just try and get their name, date of birth, or age range again, and then their relationship, and then that's all you can take. But if that other second person is physically there, you'll try and get a second survey completed as well. But not only that, if you have person A and person B and you surveyed person A, then mention person B, you still want to make sure person B is written on this survey, just again, so we know that we have to connect A and B when we do our data entry side. Yep.
So-
Again,
And the same
I'm not
thing
sure
for,
if
and same
either,
thing for children, I
okay.
guess.
Same
Same thing for
exact thing
children.
for children. Yes, the only difference here is that anyone under the age of 18, you are not going to ask this entire survey again. So you'll just collect this basic information at the bottom of the survey, and that's it. Yep. Again, you two being in this room, I think that that's under the assumption that both of you will be doing the unsheltered count. Again, just from my experience, I mean, it may be different depending on your location, but I've in my 3 years, I've only encountered single individuals, so the household section never really came up. I think it happened once or twice in 3 years. So the code purples, those other rooms are definitely going to have to deal more with the households. The households information ended up becoming more of like observations again. I think once, for example, we saw a trailer parked in a Walmart parking lot. That's what it was, a Walmart parking lot. And we saw a man come out, and we heard kids when the door opened. So the kids ended up being an observation tool. We could not figure out their gender. We just heard high-pitched noise when the door opened. So that ended up just being an observation, and that's all the information we got. So that's basically the survey at this point. Again, you'll be answering surveys as much as you can. I mean, as much as you can based on who you encounter. Aaron's usually blanket rule is to cover your area 2 times, but like I've mentioned, it's not just a matter of you going to the known location you're given, but also kind of driving around to other places nearby that you may think you may find, like cars sitting there or imprints of tents, and just kind of seeing if you could locate that tent. So you would be going out for about 2-3 hours before calling it a night. So do either of you have any questions? Looks like we have about 4 more minutes in this room.
Amelia,
I think I'm pretty good.
Sorry, Minda, can you go ahead?
Sorry, could you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yes.
Great. Just checking. So you had said that this particular section isn't something that you've had a lot of experience with because it's usually just single people, right?
Most of the time, yes, it's single individuals for the unsheltered. Yep.
Yeah, so I think I was just trying to think through the potential, I don't know if awkwardness is the right word, but if you're in a set of like maybe 3 or 4 people, maybe you end up like kind of still in the same area, but maybe somebody's talking to like someone who's on
one person each.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that is definitely something that could happen. Again, you would just give them the understanding that the same questions are being asked. We're just going to try and take as little of your time as possible to get this done. And again, the second person B, may just say, you know what, I'm not going to answer them. So I can see all of those situations happening for sure.
Sure. And what's been your experience in general about like percentage general rough of like people who are willing to engage in total and people who are like, no thanks, I just want to be left alone?
So the 2 years that really stick out to me were the 2019 and 2020 pit counts. 2019, it was like below 0, and we definitely had almost nobody wanted to come out of their car or that kind of situation. However, the 2020, I think we had maybe 80% of the people we encountered were willing to talk to us. And then the few others, we just didn't want to bother them beyond what we had to. I can also say my team was also kind of looking at the car situation. I know during the during the group training, they were talking about tents and all of that. We did not encounter any tents too often. So it was a matter of, like Rachel saying, from a distance, saying, hi, we're with the pit. Or even if you go in a wooded area, just as you walk and say, hey, we're doing the point in time count. We just want to talk to you if anybody's here. You can also offer like the bags of donations and saying, hey, we're also leaving you these donations if that helps them, let them open up to come to you. Or even if they just don't respond, we hear rustling of leaves and that kind of thing. But if nobody's responding, just leave the bag saying, hey, we're just going to leave this for you if you want to sit and try and observe the person. That's kind of up to your team when they come for the bag. Otherwise, just kind of go there. But yeah, I think
So,
most people were open to talking to us. Granted, I was with people from Christiana Care, so the fact that we had that medical van may have helped with that. But again, I'm not sure what your team composition will be. I was always with Christiana Care people.
Amelia,
Sorry, go ahead, Justin.
You may not know, there was an East Sussex and a West Sussex team. Do you have to know which one might be covering Georgetown?
I would not know that. I'm going to guess it's West.
Okay.
However, if you do have any questions, Felicia Lawrence, she would have all of that information, so you can talk to her. And her being in Sussex County, she can definitely give you more details as well.
Okay, find out later. But just so you know, there are a lot of tents in Georgetown.
Yes. So that's exactly why they're hoping to get more people in the Georgetown, in Sussex County, because we have knowledge of those encampments and trying to hopefully get to those encampments during the pit. So this call is saying that this room is going to break up in less than a minute. So I do just want to point out to you that this document will also be available on that Housing Alliance Delaware Pit 2022 page. Logistics, it is going to say again, unsheltered count. You'll go to your location by 9 o'clock. Between 9 and 10, you'll be leaving to start your rounds, and then you'll return back to your location to at least drop off your supplies by 1 o'clock. You'll be given the contact number of your location lead, so you're going to be coordinating with them. You'll be getting the mask. If you do want to just quickly look at the sheet, there are pit do's and don'ts. A lot of them were mentioned during the group training itself. Just don't promise services based on answering, we have less than a minute. Don't promise services based on answering the surveys, but just let people know that there is a reason we're doing this, looking for funding and being able to give the snapshot of homelessness that we have to do once a year. There's pits, do's and don'ts, more information about the materials you should bring, it's not too many. You have Erin's contact number on here as well, and then some information about safety as well. So a lot of this was covered during the group training. But again, since this is both of your first times, I will recommend you just glancing at this sheet again before the night of the 23rd. But yeah, they're going to kick us out in 15 seconds. So thank you both again for volunteering. My email address is out there somewhere, so if you definitely do want to reach out to me directly, you can definitely do that as well. But all right, thank you.